I'm sure some of you are going, what is she doing up there again? But Rhonda Walker from Olie and you said, Evie, I always say Evie in my head, so Olie and Evie, has some health problems and was not able to come. She was so very disappointed. And could you please come back next year? Yes, we love her. But so a couple weeks ago, I thought, well, I can't ask anybody else, so I guess I'll do it. So you guys have to put up with me again. But I love scratch quilting. So you get to see all some scrap quilting stuff I've been doing. So I just pulled out some old things, some things I've been working on, and some new things I started because I can't help myself. And so you will see what I have to show you. And please ask any questions, or if you have any ideas, you can ask. One of the big questions that we start with, this is what Rhonda said. Rhonda felt so bad, she sent this to me in an email. She says, I wanted to tell them this. I said, I'll tell us. Rhonda says, quilt making by our ancestors was inspired by culture, family history, and functionality, but ultimately as a result of thrift. Stitched into quilts of the past is a heritage of thrifty, self-sufficient women who used every scrap and resource available to them. Even though we now have access to thousands, literally, of fabrics and notions, we can still be just as thrifty when it comes to our sewing projects today. So that's what Rhonda wanted to give you a class on, and so I will teach it for her. A lot of you wonder what to do with scraps, or where do you get scraps? You get scraps from cutting off borders and cutting off the backings after you quilt, and extras, like Lori was saying, she puts them in the backs of her quilts, and I gotta do that more, but there's lots of ways to do it. Often, sometimes I have a little pile on my cutting table, but I try to deal with it right away. So I cut them. For me, over the years, I found that it works for this. I have a plastic drawer, 3 plastic drawers, those old plastic drawers. One of them I have strings, just random odd little parts and pieces, and I'll show you what I do with all these things later. One of them I have triangles, like you cut off when you join bindings, just scrappy triangles. I'll throw those into the other drawer. And then the third drawer, okay, so here's strings. There's just sample strings, just random odd stuff, just whatever. Cut off, left over. And the triangles are in a second drawer. Just cut off leftovers from them. And the third drawer, I like salvages. Salvages. So and some of them are so cute. My favorite ones are decorating my sewing room. The ones with houses or the little dancing. Oh, they're just so cute. So I have, a drawer full, but when the drawer gets full, I put them in a box and fill the drawer again. So I have like 3 boxes and a drawer full. But I keep making stuff. So I save salvages in the third drawer. So that's my system of how to save and sort my scraps as I go, except those are just the random ones. So if I have a piece that's big enough, and I can cut it, if it's a bigger than how big? If it's a fat quarter, or maybe just a little bit out of the fat quarter, I have those cloth bins, and one's red, one's green, one's blue, one's yellow. I have like 5 or 6 basic colors. And so I'll just throw them into those bins. And so if they're big, and I don't want to cut them up. But if they're littler and like hand size or 10 inches or whatever, then I will start cutting. And my cutting, I make them into 2.5-inch squares, 2-inch, or 1.5. If it's smaller than 1.5, guess what I do?
Throw it away.
Yes, I throw it away. It's hard sometimes, but I do it. I'm so brave. So I have a box. These are 1.5 inches, and I have another one. And I've made lots of stuff out of them. And I have more than this. This is just one of the boxes. And then I have boxes of 2-inch. These are 2 inches. This is the only box I have is 2-inch, but I have 2 boxes similar to this, a little bit bigger with 2.5-inch squares. So, and I use them a lot, so I will show you what I use them on. Don't keep them if you're not going to use them. That's just silly. Don't bother cutting them and storing them if you don't on purpose use them sometimes, you know? So this is how I store those. The other thing I store are, I have those Walmart plastic things with the lids, you know, those tub, little, not too big a tub things. So I have one for 1.5 inch strips, 2-inch strips, and 2.5 inch strips. Those are the only sizes that I keep. Otherwise, if it's too big and I don't want to cut it to one of those sizes, I put it into those original cloth bins I told you about. So that's how I do it. People do it so much differently. Like Dawn, my sister, she has a big tub, like a big tub under a sewing machine. And so what she does is, somebody made this, I don't know. So what she does is throw them all into the tub until the tub gets huge, overflowing. And then she'll spend a little while one day just sorting colors, and then she puts them into their color bins. And she doesn't keep little tiny, I don't think, almost anything, a fat quarter or littler go into these bins, and then she makes things, and I'll show you more of that later. So there are different ways to organize, but you have to organize it the way you will use it. Or don't bother cutting 2-inch squares if you're never going to use 2-inch squares. Just throw them away or give them away or whatever, but don't bother. Strips, so these are all things I use, and I use them really quite often. The other thing I save, because I can't help myself, okay? Are half square triangles. So half square triangles, I was saving like 2.25 because that's the biggest I could get out of it. And then I was saving 3.5. That was stupid. So I finally integrated it all into the 3 sizes: 1.5 inch, 2.5 inch, and that's really all. I think I have 2-inch half square triangles. So what I do is, if you have any leftover from bindings or leftover from things, then sometimes I'll sew them together. Or if you cut off corners, remember we were cutting off corners, I'll sew them together and then I'll cut them into the biggest size that I will be using, which is 1.5 or 2.5 usually. So this is some of them that I have. I'll show you some later. Anyway, okay, so why do we keep all these scraps? That's kind of the question. Because fabric's expensive and you're going to use every inch. This inch of fabric is worth the other inch that you put in your quilt. So why not use it? And they're sweet to use. So one of the fun things, I have to show you this. Back in the day, way back in the day, my daughter, who I won't say which of my 4 daughters it was, my daughter they were very, very poor, newly married, and, no money. And she wanted to do something. Mom, can I just take some of your scraps? Sure, honey, take whatever you want. So she took some scraps, she went home, and she sewed this little thing for me, and it's been in a frame. I took it out not too long ago. It's been in a frame. It's kind of wonky, and who cares? But she made it for me. Isn't that sweet? She just took my scraps and made this for me, and I'm sorry, Mom, it's all I could do. I just went, thank you, honey. That's so sweet. So scraps and grandkids love I have grandkids who take the scraps and just pin it into the pin cushion until it has zillion, and then they pin it in. I mean, they just love to play in scraps, and then they can sew. And you start teaching them and they'll become quilters. So only one of my daughters is truly a quilter, Jane, who was here yesterday. But this daughter, Jane didn't do this, but this daughter did it, and all my kids can do it if they want to. So it's kind of nice that they know they can. Okay. Now, the outline I'm going to give you is using scraps with backgrounds and using scraps without backgrounds. That's kind of the way I divide them in my head. Using scraps with backgrounds, you're going to be using some yardage with it. And so if you have yardage you want to use and use up the scraps, great. Just know that you can have a tub this size of scraps make a baby quilt out of it with background and you'll still have a tub this size of scrap. Pretty much. I've done that many times. It doesn't take much to make a quilt that can use a lot of background. They're using your scraps, yeah. But my favorite quilts we'll get to using no background. So first of all, with background, this is one, Emily, my dear darling. Yeah, would you? Just a few here for a while, and then I'll let you watch. So, is this upside down or upside up? What do you think? So this one, you can just take scraps, enough for 2 petals. They can be smaller if you don't have big scraps. It's a whole background piece, and then just, I think I glued it. No, I sewed it on and then I quilted it. Or maybe I quilted it on as I went. I don't remember. Then? No, they're raw edge. I think I just glued them on and stitched them down. And so it's just fun. I like it. But you could see how you could use scraps and just, it doesn't take many. Okay. Throw it. Do you want to come this way and I'll... Okay. Oh, good. You get lots of them. Here's another one where you just use background or other blocks with scraps. So these were all just plaid that I cut out. I made a bunch of plaid quilts, and then the scraps I cut out into the 2-inch blocks, 2.5 inch. And so that, and then I did these cute little birds, and it needs to be boyish. So that was fun. And here's another one with, this is another one where you use all your black and white scraps and there's still all of them left by the time you're done. So this is called birch tree. Have you seen that pattern online? It's I just go this way then. Oh yeah, it's a birch tree. So it's a pattern on. I've seen it a lot, and I wanted to just try it, the technique, and see if I could do it. So I just did it, and I thought, ooh, black and white. I'll use that. I have a whole bin of black and white scraps. Didn't even use hardly any. It was kind of an annoying pattern to make, and maybe because I don't know the tricks, because I just winged it, you know. But I still like it. It was really fun. I think it turned out. Okay, you can probably sit down. Okay. Okay, now I want to tell you the story about the drunkard's path quilts. So many, many, many years ago, there was a challenge with Donna and my sister-in-law, and she's an excellent quilter too, and me, and we had this. The goal was to make a quilt out of orange and blue drunkard's path, and you could set it any way you wanted. So I made that quilt. It's long gone, but I found these scraps for it, and I found all the little. And the drunkard's path, and in behind you cut out the circle, but you cut out that arc. So I had this baggie of orange and blue arcs, just like these. Okay, got this picture in your head? Okay. So I decided it would be fun to make a quilt out of those orange and blues. So I took all the blues. I decided I didn't want orange and blue together. I just didn't. So I took all the blues, raw edge sewed them onto another square that I cut and made another quilt. And then I cut out that. And guess what happened? More scraps. So I can take these, sew them onto more squares, cut them out, make another quilt. Who wants to do it? Come on. Okay. Okay. So then I took the orange ones and made the orange one and cut out the back. And I don't know what those are. Aren't they fun? And then, oh wait, no, this is what I did. Yeah, so I cut out the back, and then I took those, wait till you see, and made this. Do you see? It's the background of that on top of this background. Isn't that cool? I just think it's the never-ending drunkard's path. So I cut the backs of those out. Who wants to eat? Come on. somebody wants to play. So I want to see what you make when you make something of this never-ending drunkard's task.
Good job. Good job. You got the littlest ones.
Okay. Let's hold this. This one uses a little background because I tried it without, only it's not background, it's this. So it uses a little bit. I tried it without those, just putting these blocks together, and it was like, ugh, too much, too much. So then I took some of, it was supposed to be a smaller quilt, so then I spread it out, made these blocks with this, and that calmed it down enough that I can stand it. So these blocks, I think they're kind of a, what they call an Italian tile. So it's this, 2, 2. So it's just put together. That's the block. I don't know. I don't know what it's called. Okay. Now, the other one I made with background, I've been working on these for a long time. I do this just for fun when I'm too tired to really think, but I still want to sew. So I take some adding machine tape, I don't know if you've seen this, and I cut a chunk like 18 inches is what I've been doing, but you can do any length you want. And then you take I take the piece and then I fold it in half and then in quarters, just so I have registration lines to kind of keep my strings straight when I sew them on. I'm going to be stuck, I can't open this. So the lines help me keep things straight. And then I sew this, my drawer full, I pull out my drawer full of strings and I start sewing on the tape. So I start in the center and then just sew and sew and sew and just put stuff together. It can be really anything. So I put them together and then I sit there and watch TV and pull out the paper, and it's really easy to pull out because it's only 2 sides and it just pops right off. So I make these, and I had a whole, I'm more at home too, but so I make these because I just hate to throw away those really cute little strings. So, okay, so you sew them across and flip and sew and flip and sew and flip. And when you're done, you trim it off. So you don't try and cut it to the size before, that's just annoying. So when you're done, you trim it to match the paper in back. I should have brought my paper already in it, but I would have had to sew it last night. So then I pull the paper out. So, and it doesn't have to be exactly straight across. Some of them are a little bit wonky, but that's okay. I like to, it doesn't matter. So then I thought, what am I going to do? I always thought I'd use them for borders or I'd make a quilt. So a week or so ago, I thought, I know what I really want to do, what I've been wanting to do. So I went ahead and did it. And what it is a quilt with background again, but it's like that. But my goal is to make 4 of these with different size original squares and then put them together. Do you see what I'm saying?
Is that the full size?
This is a quarter of the quilt.
Yeah. Oh.
So I'll put one on this side, one on this side, you know. This size is going to be different. So it'll be smaller. The jogs,
They don't line up.
they won't line up, which I don't want them to line up. It's going to look wonky. So these jogs might start here and here, whatever. And then I'll have 4 quarters and sew them all together. I think it'll be fun. I'm excited to see that. So I'll have that done for next year. How about that? Let's think of it right first. Oh, then I'll make some more because I have
Will
lots.
you keep the same background?
Yeah, I'll have the same background. I have a lot of this. It was just funky. I kind of want a black and white, but I can tell. So that is a fun thing to do. And I have a surprise for you. Well, I don't. The library does. At the end of this class, you all get to take some adding machine tape home and try it. Thank you, Kaylee. This is a little bit narrower, but I have different widths and I've done different widths. So it doesn't really matter what size. This is just a bit narrower than this one. So not even maybe a half inch or less. So it doesn't matter. Aren't you happy?
Yes.
So you get to take them until they're gone. So everybody gets one, and then if there's more, take two. So whatever. It's fun. So that's what I use the streaks for. Salvages. I have made many a salvage quilt, and I wasn't going to bring them all. Sorry, they're too big and heavy, and I'm not. Someday I'll bring a whole bunch of salvage quilts to show you, but instead I brought a little one. So this one is, you can see up close. This one is, you're just making fabric. You just sew it on and you're making your own fabric. And it's kind of fun. One edge is woven tight, and so you don't have to worry about it. So you know how to do this, right? You start on this side, the raw edge. I like to cut at least 1 1/4 inches off the selvage if I can spare it, which I usually can spare that. If I can spare more, if I know I'm gonna have a couple inches left, I'll keep a couple inches. So whatever I have, some are wider than others. So you start here, you put one on, you put the woven edge on, stitch it, next woven, stitch. You just cover the raw edge and keep stitching until it's full.
How big are your seams?
Your seams just have to be, it's not really a seam, you're just overlapping the raw edge. And you have to be careful because if you try and overlap it too tightly, you're gonna lose it and you have to re-stitch it. But you just wanna make sure you overlap it enough. That's why if you can keep at least 1 1/4 inch, 1.5 inches, you'll have enough raw edge to overlap and still see some of the fabric. See? Yeah, you will.
Can we do it on a foundation fabric?
Did I?
Like that thing.
Probably. I could have.
When do you cut your salvages on?
Before I cut them. If I'm cutting 2.5, 2.5, 4, 2.5, 5, 7, 10, 12.5, if I'm cutting bindings or something, I go, how much binding do you need? Okay, I can afford to cut off my salvage. So I'll just cut off this much, 12 or 15 inches worth before I cut my binding, and then I'll leave the rest until next time when I need some of that fabric. And so then I thought, well, one little thing isn't enough to show. So I thought I'd make a hot pad. I love to make hot pads on salvages because they're just fun. And I did this Quilt as you go. So I had the backing. I had 4 layers of flannel. I didn't use that fancy stuff, but it's 4 layers of flannel. It's gonna be fine just to grab your cookie sheet real quick. Don't burn your hand. And then I just did it in a half hour one night, just the other night. And so it's just so fun. My black and salvages, I just love them. They're so cute. Anyway, has anybody made a salvage quilt?
No, but I'm saving
Saving them. Is anybody else saving salvages? All right. What's your plan? What's your plan?
Yeah, I have got, that's why I'm here.
There you go. I like your answer. So, here's okay, now I'm doing quilts with no backgrounds, remember? This one is called a potato chip quilt. Potato chip block. You can't make just one. I love making this block. Let me tell you why. Every brick is the same size in the whole quilt. So when you have scraps, you can say, for all my scraps in the next while, I'm going to cut this size of the brick. And I think it's 2.5 by 4.5. So you cut a box full of 2.5 by 4.5. And then when you get around to it, then you start making the potato chip quilts. So you go 2 here, 2 here. Then you join 2, put them there. Join 3, put them here. And 3 on you, or 2 here, 2 here, 3 there. And you can go bigger and bigger and keep going round and round if you want. But this is a 12 inch, I think, block. So what I'm going to do, because I love you so much, because I'm going to find it in a minute now. It's right there. Just give you a pattern. Because it's such a hard pattern. I made it myself. 2.5 by 4.5, 12.5 inch block. This just shows you the round. The joy of it is when you join the blocks, you put one this way and then you rotate it this way and you never have to match seams. I love that. That's the joy of it. So I like, it's just a fun one to do. You don't have to fuss with corners or seams or, thank you. Yeah, corners or seams or anything. So it's really fun. It's a free pattern online. That's why I gave you copies. Another one that's fun, and it's the same kind of a principle. I call it the pyramid, but I really don't know what it was called originally. Somebody on Stash Busters, I think, showed it to us one time. I didn't, sorry, I didn't do it.
Is that the same book size?
Okay, let's do it the other way, yeah. Okay, I think are these 2.5 and 4.5? Except for you have 2.5 inch squares here, 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 and here. I call it pyramid, but I don't think that's what it's called. I can't remember.
But all of them, yeah, all of them don't have the 2 squares, Terry.
Some of them just have
Have the solid brick.
See, the block,
Yeah, the one is.
the block is not where you think it is. It's right here. It's right here. And right here.
Those squares are in the corners of the block.
Right.
I see
See
it.
these two
The
and
2.5 inch
these two.
squares are the corners of the block.
This is the block from here to here. And from here to here, these two and these two. You see that block? And then when you put them together, it creates this block. It was really fun to do because I would just take my big extra cutting mat, lay out pieces,
But it's,
just lay them all out and say, oh, that looks good, and then just start sewing them together. It was just really fun. So I just lay one out and sew it together every once in a while.
what is it again?
So did you see? Yeah, okay, I'm gonna show you this. The seam is right to here to the two, here, here to here.
Yes.
And that's the block.
How far down,
there,
Terry?
right here,
Down to the 2.
Okay,
the
you're
two,
gonna have to do that one.
right here, this is
And
it,
that one too.
right there. So it was just fun, because it's all these random squares and you sew them together, and again, you don't have to worry much about seams. There's a lot that you have to do.
So it's those two down to the
And just anything goes,
coral.
unless you don't want it to. You could do this all in blues thing, and it would be gorgeous. Or you could do it all in blues and purples and green. It would be gorgeous. Yes, I mean.
Just for clarification, so on this one, you use some smaller?
Yeah, there is some 2 inch squares in that one,
Okay, so-
or 2.5 inch, whatever.
You starch.
No, I'm too lazy. I don't starch. No, not usually. I don't starch anything except, I don't know, there's once in a while, I have
Right
some,
there, right?
but I don't really use it. Okay, this is another potato chip kind of block, only it's a little bit different. It's a log cabin. It's kind of a log cabin-y. So you cut all the pieces. Okay, here's one block. And you cut 2 of these, 2 of these, 2 of these. So you cut all these pieces,
From there.
and then you sew them together differently. On this one, I sewed one across and one down. On this one, I sewed one here and one here. There are 4 different ways you can do this that I figured out, or that I have. I think I saw it somewhere. And on this one,
Terry, are you starting with your pre-cut blocks that you stuff in sort saved forever?
yeah, this is where I pull out my 2.5 inch box and my 2.5 inch strips or whatever.
Okay,
That's what, I'm telling you, I use my scraps that I've saved and cut. And if I've already cut them and I have all these 2.5 inch squares, it's easy to put it together because they're already cut. So again, it was just fun. It's kind of, some people would think it's weird, they don't like kitchen sink, which I don't blame them, it's okay. But again, if you want to do it in a colorway, it would be gorgeous. Someday, I'm gonna do that. Okay, thanks. No, I found it online. I find stuff online and I should write where I get it, but and a lot of it might be from Stash Busters when I told you about that. When they give you ideas or say, oh, look at this, they go like, oh, well, let me make that. You know, it's that friend thing. This one, it's just all my blocks, 2 inch, I think these are the 2 inch ones. I did four neutrals, 4 darks, 4 neutrals, 4 darks, and just put them together. It was just a fun little exercising in using my blocks, and I don't have very many left, did you see? Look, not that many left. Thank you. And then, as we use the strings, we've seen heartstrings before, string blocks. I'll say. There's something serious on it. So, and this is more what some people like, all blue or all one color. And so that's a good way to do it if you don't like the craziness of kitchen sink. So, yeah, there you go. So you know what this is. This is the block, heartstrings. You start in the center, sew and fold on a background, on a foundation. You cut out a 10-inch block, sew it, fold it, trim it to 9.5. There you go. We've done this before in this, but if you haven't been here and you don't know, that's okay. Okay. Got it? I do. Some people finger press, but I have my little iron here, so just easier for me. Okay, now heartstrings also, because I can't stand to waste it. Make little baby heartstrings. And these are so fun. So I always put black in the middle so far, but you could do anything. You could not put anything in it for a center block. So this whole box is full of these cute little heartstrings.
What size are those?
I cut 4 inches. Because when you cut an old sheet for the foundation like this, you cut a foundation for those blue ones. When you cut your old sheet with foundation, there was lots of pieces left, and I go, I can't waste this old sheet. So I cut little 4-inch ones, and they're just so cute. And I've used them before, like as a border or something. So I just think they're sweet.
Those are 4 inches, you said?
Yeah. So I know I'm insane. I understand that. Some people think I'm crazy, which I don't care. But it's fun. It's just fun, and I hate to waste the fabric, and I just love to feel so economical and so thrifty, like my grandma. You know. So I've used a lot of these, and I make them often, and then I use them. So I made little doll quilts with them too, and that was really cute. So that's what I do with those. If I have any black leftovers, I just cut them and put them there.
Your foundation is a sheet, not paper.
No, not on these. I don't know. On most of the heartstrings and on all these, it's usually an old cotton sheet or some old muslin that is not very good, or some old fabric I'm sick of.
I've used dryer sheets.
Yeah.
I've heard of that, and I've never done that. Some people think the smell or the allergy, I don't know. But I know I've heard of people that do that, and so that might be fine too. So whatever, use whatever you have. Okay, so
Draw the line to start so that it's straight.
I just eyeball it
Your
because I'm that way. I don't care. But you could draw a line or you could crease it if you want. But if you put a center, it's kind of corner to corner. You have the corners in the corner. So I don't worry about it too much. It's close enough. Look at my quilts. They're close on them. They had a thing of Stash Busters about 81 patch blocks. This is an 81 patch. 81 patch block. Isn't that? So that's what I've used some of my 1.5 inch. I used a whole bunch for these so far. You can't even tell I used them. So I was thinking I'd make I just did these the other day. So I was thinking I'd make maybe 20 of these and then put them in a quilt fashion and put them in a quilt. Oh, they're cute. So that's where I'm using my 1.5 inches right now. What?
Is that on one of those grid panels?
No, but I'm just gonna tell you about that. These I didn't do on a grid panel, but if you want to use a grid panel, like the sisters, I always forget which number. So you can get these grid panels, and Janice has some at her store, and it's cheaper. And she's selling them for a good price. So you just get them and you put the squares on top, and then you sew them, and you can make your design or whatever you want that way. I've used them before and I like them, but I didn't use them. Yes.
A friend of mine once, she called it the postage stamp quilt.
Yes.
And she took the 1.5 inches and she sewed the strips together and then just cut them into the 1/2 inch squares afterwards. And then you can put them however way you want. And
Amazing,
and
yes.
it's faster than doing little tiny, sewing every little tiny square.
I'm sure it is. That's amazing. So another name, if you do a whole quilt out of these, a lot of times they call them postage stamp. And so they're different sizes. This was 2.5, this is 2 inch. So, Janice has this, like I said, and I think it would be fun to make a whole. There you go. You could make a whole quilt just like that. So,
It makes it heavier.
a little bit heavier. You could use a really light batting pen and not, it's not that. It's not that bad. Okay, I told you my sister puts her fabric in tubs, and then she pulls out a tub of blues and she'll make crumbs. And we had this discussion that crumbs, these are crumb blocks. They're called crumb blocks really often anyway. And so we've had this discussion. She says, I just love to make crumb blocks. These are all her low volume-ish pastel-y. She loves to make them. And I said, I can't stand it. She says, why? It's so relaxing. It drives me insane because I have to decide what to put where and how to sew that on, and then is it big enough, and do it. Then I trim it, and for me, we decided it was a personality thing. She loves it. She just thinks it's so relaxing and fun. She makes crumb blocks, and one of her YouTube classes is on making the crumb blocks. She makes it look so easy, and if you want to do it, your personality might be one to do this, and you would love it. If you're more logical, I mean, I'm more analytical, I think, and she's more fun and happy-go. So I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, what is it, Emily? I don't know. Do you like it? You don't like it? Oh, well, see, you can like what you like. I don't know. But use your scraps. That's what we're getting at. So these, Dawn made these. She sent them with,
Foundation?
no, she just sews them together until they're bigger than her square, and then she squares them up. And here's this pretty, and she made, I said, well, just send me 3 colors. She's made a whole bunch because they're on her video, on her YouTube. And she has tons on there, and they're so cute. Then she made black and white out of her black and white. And then she sent me the blue ones too. Aren't they pretty? I love them. I love to see them. I just want her to give them to me. I don't want. Did you hear that? So, do you really want me to send them back? So, anyway. Really, if you want to learn more about how to do it, just look up how she teaches us so how to do it. Okay. And I was talking about cutting your scraps. Here's one I'm cutting for. So I found this pattern. It's a scrappy quilt. It's 2 by 3.5 inch bricks. They're this big. And all you do is put 2 together. So you put 2, 2, 2, 2. That's your little block. And so I made some, so 4 little blocks together. And that's as far as I've got, because this is all the scraps I've cut so far out of my scraps. But every time I get scraps now, I'm cutting this size for this quilt. And I'm just gonna keep adding on pretty soon. Just like those others. And it's gonna be like this, and it's really cute. I saw one that was finished 2 by 3.5. You could do any size as long as they fit. I mean, if you want to be like this.
Did you tell us how you made the little teeny squares, how you sewed those in there?
Did I tell you how? I did it a really old fashioned way. I took my 1.5 inch squares that were already cut. I took a handful of neutrals and a handful of darks, and I laid them all out on my little board, and then I sewed them all together, just row by row by row. It's just old fashioned, not speedy. I don't care.
Are you using them as enders and leaders?
You could use them, but I just didn't. You could sew 2 together every time you finish something else. And leader enders, you know what that is. So you just sew something in the machine, and you could do that with these. Sew 2 together every time you finish something to have something under your needle. It ends and starts much better. So you could do that with any of these. Good point, Kiki. But I didn't, because I just wanted to get it done to show you. But I'll show you one that I did with leaders and enders of these. So that's the 81 patch. And you can do it with 2 inch or 2.5 inch. You don't have to make them teeny tiny. You can make bigger squares and still have the 81 patch. In fact, I've seen this big 81 patch. Paper here. I think we're down there.
What do you mean? I just got a message that it's snowing in Las Vegas.
Snowing in Las Vegas.
Second time I just said that.
That's hilarious. Hey, the other way to learn how to put your scraps together is to come to the library and check out books. This is a new book they just got. Look how cute. I'm just gonna have to, see, and you can do a style. You can do 30s fabrics, not do the kitchen sink garbage. Or you can do Civil War, or you can do, just pick a theme or a color. And look at all these cute. I'm amped to check it out, but I can't because I have too much to do. So if you want to check it out, ask Penny. It's really good. What's it called? Scrap Quilt Bounty. But I've been back there. They have a ton of scrap quilt books. Just go looking, and I couldn't even pick out. I mean, I pulled out a bunch for that rack, and there's tons back there. So you'll find lots of fun patterns if you look. Here's another way to use your scraps. These are my 1.5 inch squares around the outside. I just picked the colors I wanted. Raise your hand if you know what this is called. You didn't raise your hand. I saw you raise your hand first. Snails trails. Snails trails. It's the snails trail block. And I just wanted to try one, and I had those scraps from something else. They were all in a baggie, and I thought I could try it. So I made it, and I don't know what to do with it, so you get it. Hold my rug. You can use any scraps. Okay. My rug. Let me think.
Do you like just buy some white and then keep it stretched or cut up too so that it's ready to go when you need it all when I leave till there?
No, it's a good idea, but I don't. I cut up when I cut up my squares, a lot of them are neutrals. A lot of the times I'll use scrappy neutrals. But if I need some white, I have some chunks of white I leave, just chunks, and I don't cut those up until I do those. I don't do the white, just until I do find something I want. Okay, okay. I'm going to give this to Tina. Let me tell you why. She can barely see. She's legally blind, and she still quilts. She made the quilt in the back with about her grandson.
Yeah.
Who passed away, and so that memorial quilt. She still quilts. Can't even see. Okay, here's the one I was going to show you that I'm so excited about. I can't understand myself. I've been taking my ends of binding corners, those triangles that I showed you. So I sew them together, and then I trim them, and I've been trimming them to 1.5 inches. Aren't these cute? And then I found this, 2 days ago. I found, oh, I already have some 1.5 inches, which is good because I'm gonna need a lot. So what I'm going to make is, I saw this picture and it's so cute. I don't think you can see this, but it's a bird block here, or you could put any block, a house block or anything. And then they've got these little tiny 1.5 inch around, and then a black and white, and then you may have seen it on Pinterest. It keeps coming up because I love it. And a black and white, and then more little half squares, and another black and white. So you make all these blocks, and then you just put them together, and you can put like 12 or 20 blocks, and it's going to be so cute. This might take me a few years, but I don't care. So that's what this project is for, all these little cute 1.5. Aren't they cute? Okay, I'm going to show you now just a few things that I've made from scraps, purely scraps. This one, 30 scraps, and these are just raw edge. Sew the little circles on, cut them in quarters, sew them together again. Did I do it that way? Yeah, probably. I don't remember. Yeah, that matches that. Okay, so the background is just scraps too. Again, you can pass them around. So that's the 30s. And then this one, I think I won a ribbon at the fair on this one because it's called split rail fence. Split rail fence. And so these little teeny square triangles, I just think it's so cute.
Are you sewing those under?
Okay, this is a white strip, three half square triangles, and a colored strip. So that's the block. This is the block. So this way, this way, this way, this way. Do you see that? I'm going to show it right here for a minute, and then I'll pass it around. Yeah.
I was just gonna ask if you could hold it higher, so.
I will, as soon as I show the camera. Okay.
That is nice. That is so cute.
And see the scrappy binding. So teeny little scraps. This doesn't take any fabric at all, but it's so fun. You can pass it around. And then I just dug out a few of my other teeny. I think miniatures are just so fun. I don't know why, but I love miniatures. So I know it drives people crazy. Just don't make them, Madeline. Just don't make one, okay? Don't do it. She makes giant quilts. Giant quilts. And I do too, but I love miniatures. So this is a little paper piece, which I hate paper piece, but this wasn't bad because you just have this and this. So this is a little row of paper piece flying geese from purely little scraps. So I'm going to go like this, and then I'm going to pass it around. This is another one I made. This is an Akita sitar pattern. It's just too cute. I really don't. How much? Okay. This is, I think they're 1/4 inch logs when you're done. You cut them 3/4, and then they're 1/4 inch when you're inside. No, just regular piecing. Was not paper pieced. Did you see? I hate paper piecing that bad. I would rather not do it. Oh, pass that around. So, I was so proud of myself. I mited these little corners. Isn't that cute? Now this is another housecore triangle. I took this off my little wall, my little railing that I had by the back door just this morning. I thought, oh, I can show them that. So these are housecore triangles that I saved. And one day I just saw, I think I saw this kind of pattern in a book or something. I thought, oh, I had housecore triangles. So it was super easy to make because I already had all the housecore triangles. Just sewed it together.
Are those geese?
No.
No geese?
It reminds you of that, doesn't it? This is a housecore triangle, this is a housecore
Kind of on
triangle.
point.
They're kind of on point, so they are delusional. And then these extras.
Excuse me, how big were the strips?
3/4,
3/4.
and then a quarter each, and then it leaves a quarter, and you kind of have to trim the quarters a little bit because they're too bulky.
This is insane.
I know, I know, it's insane. Yes, you're right. I agree. But it was really fun and I loved it. Okay, and how many have heard of Bonnie Hunter? Bonnie Hunter. Have you heard of Bonnie Hunter? She is the scrap queen of the world, of the quilting world. This is her. She's cut her hair now. So anyway. This is from an old Quilt Makers September 2014 magazine. And she makes 1 billion scrap quilts. And you just go to her site. It's called Quiltville and Addicted to Quilts or to Scraps. So Addicted to Scraps is Quiltville, Bonnie Hunter. Google any of that and you'll find her. She has free patterns online. A lot of scrappy. She does everything scrappy and uses the littlest pieces. She does a challenge every year.
She has that published, like scrap organization method too, if you're looking for
She has
about
methods.
how to store your scraps and what sizes and all that.
Yes, and some people, you can store your scraps the way she says, but not if you're not gonna use them. So she stores differently than I do, but I've read her stuff and I understand it. But I've developed into this. I used to do more of what she did and then I didn't use it the right way. So, but if you read it, it helps you understand how you should use your scraps and how you can store yours and use them for what you make. So she's very good. She has lots of patterns. And one of the patterns of hers that I made is this one. It's heavy. This one I made as a leader ender. It took me a couple years, maybe, I don't know. Took a while. It's called Carolina Chain, and it's Bonnie Hunter's pattern. So you can see the dark chain goes up and down, the light chain goes across. If you get back, it's better. If you can see it better. Yeah, in your camera. If you look in your camera, you can see the darks and the lights and how it flows. So what I did is I would have some scraps. Oh, and the camera looks really good. And this is one block. So you cut a 2 by 3.5. You cut two 2 by 3.5 and two 2-inch squares out of the dark. And then you cut 3 2-inch squares out of the light. And as I would cut my scraps, I would cut, if it was a dark or light, whatever it was, whatever I could get out of it, I'd cut that configuration. So I cut 2 of these and 2 of these, or 3 of these out of either dark or light, because some have light in the middle, some have dark in the middle. This one's called Carolina Chain. And then I would match them. I would just cut them and put them in little piles on my little, what are they called? Those tables.
Design board.
You guys are too fancy. TV trays. It's like an old TV tray that I've covered, and I use it for my TV ironing board right by my feet. It's an old TV tray that my husband fixed for me. So it's my little, it's right, I have my big board, but right by my machine is this little ironing board. So I would stack them on there in groups of cut pieces, and then when I say, oh, I like this with this, then I match them together and put them by my machine, and then I start kind of sewing them together as I went through other quilts. So I'll leave it ender, it just happened as it happened. And when I get a block, I put it in the dark center pile or the light center pile. And I try and keep them even. I didn't really count for a long time. I just try and keep the piles kind of even because it's pretty even. And then after I got some really good piles, I thought, I can count those. So I count and put them in groups of 10 and count, and pretty soon, I had enough of this whole quilt. Well, pretty soon, couple years. But it felt like it wasn't any work because it just happened as it went. So I really like that quilt. I like the chickens on the back too.
Yes. What was the name of that last quilt?
Carolina chain. Carolina chains. Now, remember what I said, if you don't like scraps, and there are people who don't, I don't care, you don't have to like them, you don't have to do it. If you don't like scraps, consider what is a scrap for you. If it's less than a hand size, is that too little for you? Then put it in a bucket or a bag or something, and then give it away. There are people who would love it. Oh, well, not funny. But I do know, I have a box under my, I keep a mailing box, a flat rate box under my machine. And when there are pieces I just don't want to do, I don't want to cut that today, I throw it in the box, or I'm done with that fabric. I throw it in the box. When the box is full, there's somebody in Texas I send it to that she doesn't have that much fabric, and she's happy to get it, and I'm happy to send it to her because I don't have to deal with it. So give it away.
It's a little slide of what you talked about, but when you're cutting all these little pieces out, do you worry about the grain and fabric and all that, or do you just lay them out and cut them?
I kind of worry about the grain. I try to do them on the grain. And I look at the back of a piece. You can tell on the back better than the front. That would be good. These are kind of straight, but you can tell on the back, the teacher can't tell very well, but on the back, you can kind of tell the grain, and I try and get it close to the grain. If it's not exact, I'm not gonna worry too much about it, but I try to keep it pretty close to the grain. Yeah. Okay, any other questions or comments? I'm sorry, Ari wasn't here. Yes.
Oh, I'm interested in doing scrap binding, but I don't know how long to make my scrap binding pieces, because I can't just leave them.
Whatever you want. No, I can have a long piece and then a short piece and then a kind of medium. If they're really long, I just kind of chop them somewhere a third and just mix them up. It doesn't really matter to me. Does anybody have a rule? I don't have any rules. Just cut them, and I don't like even segments because then you have to worry about math. I don't do that. So you just cut them uneven. And then you're fine. Doesn't matter where it ends for the day. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're done with filming. So thank you.